Naruto, Uzumaki. He felt a roll of nausea take him. His skin looked a sickly yellow in the harsh torch lighting. Yes, come on, Dickless. Don't tell me you can't recall your own name. He looked at the red-haired girl. Her soft lips and crimson locks pulled familiarity from deep within his mind. Tayuya. His throat croaked with a cracked numbness. So you do remember me? He grabbed his head in pain. His eyes flickered up with confusion. Tayuya's expression shifted wordlessly as she stepped back away. I think I do. Where's Itachi? A man stepped out from the darkened corner. His long black hair and pale skin gave him a stark appearance. Kukuku, Naruto-kun, where did all your earlier fire go? To see you reduced to a state such as this brings a tear to my eye. Orochimaru smirked confidently. His serpent's grin stretched unnaturally across his face. Orochimaru. The man nodded satisfied. His yellow eyes gleamed like a serpent's gazing upon a freshly captured bird. You do remember, good Naruto-kun, it'd be a shame if you'd forgotten that much after all our time together. No, Sasori told me about you. Orochimaru gazed upon him, his interest piqued. His eyes glanced greedily at the blond boy's crimson iris. And what did he say about me? Pray tell. In an eye blink's movement, Naruto vanished, and Orochimaru was pinned against the hideout wall, shocked by his speed. So fast, but that can't be the Yondames. Naruto smirked, dropping his act and brandishing a kunai. He told me. The blonde placed the kunai to Orochimaru's throat and slashed across, blood flying in the faintly lit room. To kill you on sight. 3 years earlier. Naruto scratched his blonde mop of hair, yawning as the sun shone down on him warmly. Can't wait to start the day off right with some Ichiraku. He jumped in excitement, earning ired looks from some of the nearby villagers. Shrinking down embarrassed, he continued walking towards the shop. He ruffled through his precious gamachan and pulled out a set of bills. 300, 500, 700 Rio. He raised his fist excitedly. I can order the deluxe pork cutlet bowl today. He took off, running narrowly, avoiding crashing into passing pedestrians. As he arrived at the ramen shop, he saw a familiar face entering the store. Shikamaru, what are you doing here? The boy shrugged lazily. I eat too, Naruto. Naruto chuckled at the deadpan answer. All right, of course. You want to eat together? Shikamaru nodded sleepily. Naruto opened the paper doors, and the smell of fresh cooked ramen wafted out. He began to drool slightly. Tsuchiya's and I'm here. The old man turned smiling. On Naruto, you're here early. Naruto smiled excitedly. I've got a big mission today, so I need a good breakfast. Shikamaru waved. I'm here too. I ran out and wrapped Naruto in a half hug, earning a blush. Good morning, Naruto-kun. I've missed you. You should drop in more often. Naruto smiled. Morning, nay. I try to, but I've been busy with missions. He sat on a stool and pulled up a menu. What'll it be today? Naruto began going over the menu, thinking of all the delicious food he was going to get. I'll have 3 orders of miso and 1 pork cutlet deluxe. Shikamaru yawned. and I'll have a shrimp. Ayam nodded and wrote down their orders, heading back to the kitchen to relay them. A few minutes later, she came out with 3 piping hot bowls of ramen. Naruto's eyes sparkled with joy. Thank you, Kami. He pulled chopsticks from the paper container and broke them. Itadakamasu. He began digging into the golden noodles with ravenous fervor. Shikamaru looked at him amused while munching leisurely on his noodles. When he was done, Ayam brought out 2 more bowls which he proceeded to devour. She turned to Shikamaru. Would you like another bowl? He shook his head. No, thank you. I have to go prep for a mission. He waved to Naruto before turning and slinking away. Naruto said a hasty goodbye with ramen still in his mouth before returning his attention to it. When he was done eating, he set his bills on the counter, thanking them for the meal, and excused himself. He headed out to the training ground where his team was supposed to meet. When he arrived, he saw the familiar faces of his teammates beaming back at him. Sasuke, Sakura-chan. He ran up to them, earning an annoyed look from Sasuke and a sigh from Sakura. Naruto Baki, you're late again. Sakura chastised him. Her neon pink hair flowed in the passing wind. Naruto grinned toothily. Well, I figure Kakashi-sensei always is, so why rush? She sighed, mentally agreeing. Well, I can't fault his logic. Sasuke turned to her inquisitively. So what was this mission we're on anyway? Sakura looked at him, surprised that he would ask her. What a mission! She looked up confused. He looked at her with mild irritation. Kakashi-sensei briefed you, didn't he? She remembered the previous day he had bumped into her and handed her a mission scroll before running off in a hurry. Oh, that. It was something about a caravan being raided by bandits. Naruto looked on curiously. Why would that be important enough for us to rush here last minute? The blonde asked, furrowing his eyebrows, seeming to be in deep thought. Sakura shrugged. I guess we'll find out when Sensei gets here. As if summoned by name, Kakashi poofed in behind them and began with his daily excuse about why he was late. Sorry I'm late, I dash. He was quickly cut off by the shouts of his angry little genin. You're late. Kakashi's sweat dropped before regaining his composure. Every day, it was the same thing. He enjoyed it, though. It reminded him of a Team 7 before this one that consisted of Minato-sensei, Obito, Rin, and himself. This wasn't the time to be reminiscing on good times, though. Anywho, about the mission. Nonchalantly, he pulled out a mission scroll from his pocket. Sakura's eyes widened slightly. That's an A rank scroll, but the one you gave me was a B rank, right? He nodded, adjusting his pouch so it wouldn't get in the way. The details were received last minute. It turns out that the bandits were after being led by an associate of Orochimaru. Their eyes widened at the name. Sasuke and Naruto growled, clenching their fists. Sakura shifted her small feet, nudging her shirt nervously. But Sensei, is it really a good idea for us to go on this mission? You know, considering... She left it hanging at that, but it was obvious what she was trying to implore. Sasuke turned and glared at her. Sakura, if you're trying to get us to back out, forget it. He spat angrily at her, His grip tightened on his armband in frustration, his knuckles pale with a hint of red. Kakashi I smiled, trying to alleviate the situation. Now, kids, no need to worry. Kakashi brushed his gloved palms off one another, bits of dust flying loose to the grass. The man we're after is just a small fry. We're not expecting anything more than a quick fight, if you could even consider it one. Just in case, though, we've got backup. As he said that Asuma and his team rounded the corner to the training field. Asuma here already? The man smirked, taking a puff from his cigarette. Not everybody is chronically late, Kakashi. Naruto saw Shikamaru and smiled. So that's the mission you were talking about. Who knew? Shikamaru grumbled, trying his best to sound sarcastic. In truth, I was sent to make sure you arrived on time. You always were troublesome. Shikamaru sighed, earning a small round of laughter from the other genin. Naruto was hurt that they wouldn't trust him to get here on time. He let it go, though, always quick to forgive. I'll show you I'll kick ass on this mission, and you'll all be begging me to be Hokage. Naruto smirked, raising his fist to the sky. After all, I am Naruto Uzumaki, the one who's going to become the greatest Hokage ever. Sakura facepalmed. Classic Naruto. Kakashi cleared his throat, grabbing the attention of everyone. Not to ruin the moment, but this is a matter of urgency. Pack up your belongings or anything else you might need on the mission. We'll meet at the village gates in 15 minutes. They all nodded and vanished to grab their stuff. Meanwhile, somewhere in Kusagakure, the trap is set, Orochimaru-sama. We've captured one of the fire daimyo's personal caravans. We also let one escape to send news to the Leaf, as you commanded. Orochimaru nodded, grinning gleefully. His plans would come to fruition soon. Well done, Shugori, you have served me well. The snake man flickered his tongue much like a serpent. He snapped his fingers, and 4 figures hopped from the ceiling. Sakan, Kinu, Jirobo, Tayuya, you know what to do, and I expect you to succeed. The snake Sannin looked at them expectantly as he disappeared into the ground. Haodokima-sama! They shouted in unison as they moved out to complete their mission. Back in Konoha, Naruto grabbed his travel bag, tossing extra clothes and some of his 3-minute cup ramen inside. He made sure to include a few essentials, such as water and flints. I can't believe I get to go on an A rank, and so soon after the last one. The blond boy smirked happily. He tossed his travel pack over his shoulder. Locking his door, he hopped out the window and began hopping from roof to roof, heading towards the gates. He arrived at the gates shortly before the rest of them and waited, bored. A few minutes later, Kakashi arrived with the rest of them, and he turned to the 2 groups and spoke. Okay, the mission is to head to Kusa, free the trapped caravan, and capture the target alive. Shikamaru raised his hand. What about the bandits? Kakashi's lone eye shone coldly. He spoke matter-of-factly in his normal tone. Kill them. The students paled, Sakura and Choji gulping, but nodded dutifully. Let's go. Naruto followed his teammates, rushing out of the gate as he saw the daybreak burning red in the sky. The blond boy felt a shiver run down his spine as he stepped out of the gates. That has to be a bad omen. They arrive at the border of the land of grass as the sun set in the sky above them. Kakashi turned to address his team. Okay, this area is under hostile control. Assume that anyone who comes at you is an enemy. Hesitation could lead to death, and we don't want that, do we? The genin shook their heads, clutching their kunai shakily. Let's go. They silently crept through the long grass and saw a strew of rickety shacks dotted the area. Naruto heard the grass behind him rustle and instinctively threw a kunai. He heard an agonized hiss and turned to see a white snake had been impaled by his kunai. He shrugged it off and turned back to face his team when he heard a loud poof behind him. He turned just in time to catch a kunai swipe aimed for his head. Naruto froze in place, unable to react, and the man smirked. Pulling a second kunai from his leg, the enemy nin spun, rearing back with his arm and preparing to impale Naruto. Naruto duck. Naruto barely reacted in time as a kunai implanted itself in the enemy nin's brain and he fell limp and dead. He turned to Kakashi, who had just thrown the knife. What did I tell you, Naruto? Don't hesitate. Naruto nodded, swallowing his throat. Gomen sensei. Asuma grabbed the man's body and silently dragged him through the grass, hiding him behind a large rock. Let's keep moving. He barked silently to both teams. They crept through the grass. Asuma and Kakashi picked off Bandit's left and right, stashing them in the tall grass, behind buildings, in trash cans, anywhere to be honest. Finally, they arrived at a clearing where there was a bonfire. Several men were sitting around it, drinking and sharpening axes, knives, and whatever else bandits try to use as weapons. One man was dressed differently from the rest, though. He was wearing bright white, silk robes, and fine jewelry. He was sitting with a frightened-looking woman on his lap. Don't worry, fair maiden, unlike these foul brutes, I am a gentleman. I will not deflower you if you do not wish it. He drank a glass of fancy wine and looked around, locking eyes with Kakashi. Kakashi shouted, "Now!" The shinobi dove out of the grass. Sakura and Sasuke each stabbed a bandit in the chest, piercing their hearts. Sasuke took it in stride, moving on to the next one, slitting throat after throat, but for some reason, be it shock or remorse, Sakura froze in place. Naruto paled and tackled her out of the way as a bandit brought down his axe. Naruto spun around, stabbing the man through the side of the head, piercing his temporal lobe. Finally, all that was left was the man who was dressed up differently from the rest. He jumped up and put a knife to the woman's throat, thinking that would be enough to stop the ninja. Stay back, I say. You hear me, you come near me, she dies. Kakashi pulled up his headband, revealing his blood-red Sharingan, and the man's eyes rolled back, falling into an unconscious state. Asuma, tie him up for me. Sakura, check on the girl. The rest of you secure the area. They all nodded and left to complete their tasks. Naruto ran off to secure the east sector of the camp, when out of nowhere he was grabbed from behind by a pair of thick, muscular arms. He tried to shout, "Kakashi sensei, there's Dash." The man covered his mouth. "Shut up, you leaf scum." Sasuke headed east from a north perimeter and saw the big man grab Naruto. He shouted urgently, "Enemies in our AO." Kakashi quickly dashed over to where Naruto was, only to be intercepted by a barrage of arrows and strange, ghost-like creatures. Shinobi. Sasuke was blindsided by a punch. He turned to see a man with powder blue hair standing there with a cocky grin. Hello, Uchiha. It's an honor to meet you. Sakura, Ino, and Choji formed a manji formation around the girl, while Asuma ran over to help Kakashi. Kakashi turned to him, Sharingan blazing. I'll handle the one in the tree at 3. Oh, the clock you get the one in the tree at my 6. Asuma nodded, and they both rushed the trees. Kakashi charged a Raikiri, slashing through the tree like paper. The sound, Kunoichi grunted, falling on her butt. Asuma ran over and made a hand sign. Fire style, burning ash jutsu. He shot a cloud of ash from his mouth, surrounding the tree before igniting it in a burst of flames, causing the ninja inside of it to flee. Sasuke dodged a series of punches and kicks, trying his best to counter, but it felt like the person had 4 arms and 4 legs, which he didn't realize the enemy Shinobi actually did. Sasuke activated his Sharingan, ignoring the searing pain in his shoulder as his curse mark flared up. He growled, kicking the man in his chest and sending him flying back. Fire style, fireball jutsu. Sakan paled and narrowly rolled away from the flames, only to hear a sound like birds chirping. Sasuke smirked darkly. Dodge this, you bastard. He ran forward, and Sakan tried to jump away, only to see his legs were tied in steel wire. Chidori. Sasuke yanked the wire and pulled him forward, shoving his lightning-clad fist through the man's chest. Kakashi ran forward, preparing to impale the girl with a Raikiri when he heard Naruto scream out in pain. He turned to see a large man with orange, rust hair break his student's arm. When he looked back, the girl was gone. He turned back to the man, and the girl was standing behind him along with another guy with 6 arms. Asuma jumped behind Kakashi and got back-to-back with him. Are they all here? Kakashi shook his head. One is unaccounted for. Sasuke was shocked when he was suddenly blindsided by a strike and sent tumbling. He saw the man he was just fighting stand up, the hole in his chest growing. He split apart into 2 men, each with a partial curse mark activated. Sorry, Uchiha-san, but we'll resume this another time. As you can clearly see, we have what we came for. Both men, creatures, whatever they were, ran off and joined their allies. Do you have him? Jirobo nodded. Good. Orochimaru doesn't want the Akatsuki to get their hands on the Kyuubi. Kill him. The man nodded and smirked, snapping Naruto's neck in his meaty fists. Sasuke reached out in vain. Naruto, no. Kakashi's eyes widened. No. Sasuke couldn't believe it. His friend, his rival, had just died before his eyes. His eyes felt as if they were on fire, burning deep with hatred. Crimson tears began to run down his eyes. For a moment, he felt unbelievable power in his eyes. Then it receded as soon as it came. He wondered if that was the power Itachi talked about, the Mangekyo. He didn't get to put deep thought into it as he passed out in Kakashi's arms from mental and physical exhaustion. Take him. We can't let them recapture the Kyuubi. They nodded, and the blue-haired man threw a volley of poisonous smoke bombs from 4 of his hands. They exploded with a light explosion, which sent out highly poisonous purple gas, which obscured the area. Kakashi, still in shock, was unable to quickly think of a counter to the expanding wall of smoke. Before they all teleported away with Naruto in tow, Sakura couldn't believe what she had just seen. He's gone. Naruto awoke in a cramped, dark space, incessant dripping, rattling at his psyche. Where am I? His first thought was that he was in his mindscape, but he couldn't feel the QB nearby, so he knew that wasn't it. He tried to sit up, but he couldn't completely feel his arms and neck. What he could feel was a great pain. Oh! He felt the side of his face kiss the cold stone floor. The blue slate reflected his cerulean eyes in the moonlight as small puddles of water formed below. He tried his best to inch himself against a wall and prop himself up into a sitting position. He kept falling back down and eventually gave up. Rolling over onto his back, he stared up and saw through a small hole in the ceiling the full moon shining down on him. He felt small contentment and managed to close his eyes and relax. He lost track of time and eventually fell asleep, letting the darkness overtake him. The next day, Konoha, Kakashi and company arrived back in the Leaf Village in the lowest of moods. Sakura hadn't stopped crying, and Sasuke was white with rage, blaming himself for his comrade's death. Asuma felt horrible. He had always liked Naruto, and he couldn't fathom what it would feel like to lose a student, especially that it happened to Kakashi out of everyone. Kakashi himself felt a feeling of complete worthlessness. He had failed to save Obito, Rin, Minato, and now he had lost his beloved student and the last reminder of the teacher he'd lost. Please forgive me, Minato-sensei. He thought about this, impaled thinking of the consequences of the situation at hand. Oh shit, Jiraiya and Tsunade are going to kill me. He briefly considered committing suicide himself rather than face the horrible tortures they would concoct, but then he would have to face Kushina, and that scared him even more. As they marched through the village, prisoner in hand, heading over to the torture division, they arrived soon enough, and Anko saw his expression and chuckled. Geez, Kakashi-kun, you're pale as a ghost. Did you piss Tsunade off or something? Did she say she's finally going to ban your smut? Asuma walked over and whispered to her, and she got a melancholy look on her face. Oh damn, I am sorry for your loss. I always liked that Gaki. She grabbed an iron stake. Well, set the scum over there, I'll get started on him. Kakashi tossed the man into the chair and turned to leave, fearing the wrath he would soon be facing. Let's get this over with. Orochimaru's hideout, same time. Naruto awoke to a full range of feeling, but with that came the pain. He clenched his fists, his knuckles turning white as he teared up. All his bones felt like shards of stone stabbing him. His muscles felt like they had snapped like bungee cords. He screamed out in agony and heard chuckling from the hall outside. He looked up to see a man with long, palish blue hair and blue lipstick. W, what's so funny, you bastard? The bluette man smirked darkly. Your pained expression mainly. Naruto tossed a rock at him, and he caught it, crushing it in his hand. Nice try, Gaki. Better luck next time. The man walked off, whistling a tune. Naruto growled and climbed to a sitting position, clawing at his face to contain the pain. He sat there fuming in silence for what seemed like an eternity before a girl with long red hair arrived and pulled up a stool looking bored. She saw him staring and glared at him. "What are you looking at, shithead?" Naruto smirked. "I'm not sure yet. Go fuck yourself." She spat at him angrily. He chuckled. She turned away from him and began reading a music magazine, bored with her job. He looked around for a rock and grabbed a sharp one. His gaze met the ropes wrapped around his legs, and he began carving away at them. Finally, he managed to split the ropes and spun them around, putting the split end under his legs so it looked like they were intact. The girl turned back to him, hearing the rustling noise he was making. "You're not wanking in there, are you?" He looked at her in disgust. "Why would I do that? How would I do that?" He motioned with his hands to the ropes on his wrists. She shrugged. "Wouldn't be the first." He shook the mental image out of his head. He waited for her to return to her reading and began to work on his wrist bindings. Once they were finished, he hid the rock in his palms, spun the bindings around, stuffing the split ends into his shirt sleeves, and laid back against the wall, biding his time. When the girl finally left, a short older man in a sound ninja uniform arrived with a loaf of bread and a bucket of mystery stew. "Dinner time, Gaki. Try anything, and I'll make you regret it." Naruto nodded in faux compliance. When the man came in and set the bucket down, Naruto lunged, stabbing him in the neck with the rock. He held his hand over the man's mouth to muffle his surprised shout. Naruto grabbed the loaf of bread and took a bite before tossing it on the man's, now dead corpse. "Thanks for the food." Konoha. Kakashi and company entered Tsunade's office in abject terror at what she would do. She seriously loved the blonde boy, and she was notoriously short-tempered. Kakashi took a deep breath and went to give the mission report. "The mission was a success. We captured the target, rescued the caravan, and killed the bandits." She nodded, looking around for the orange-clad Jinchuriki. "Naruto didn't cause any problems, did he?" Kakashi stiffened. "Kakashi, where is he? Usually he'd be here complaining about wanting another mission or bragging about his exploits." She chuckled. "Well," Kakashi stammered. "Well, I dash." Kakashi grabbed his headband over his eye, bowing his head. He was compromised. She looked at him confused and annoyed. "What do you mean by he was compromised?" Although she looked annoyed, inside her heart was slowly shattering into pieces, piece by piece, painfully. Kakashi sighed and looked up at her with pain in his eyes. "He's dead. A rogue ninja caught him by surprise." She stood up from her desk, clenching her fists. She looked at Kakashi with murder in her eyes and turned white with rage. "He was what? Don't play games with me, Kakashi." Shizune gasped, covering her mouth in shock, tears welling up in her eyes. Tsunade turned to Kakashi. "What did they do with him?" Kakashi choked on his voice. "They took him. They were after the Kyuubi." Tsunade paled. "Shizune fetched Jiraiya at once." Shizune nodded and ran off full speed. Tsunade gritted her teeth. One way or another, someone is paying for this. She broke down into tears. Why does this always happen? Back at the hideout, Naruto acted quickly. Stripping the man, he switched clothes with him and stuck him in the shadows. It would buy him some time, and time was of the essence at the moment. Naruto slipped the sound ninja uniform on and pulled the balaclava over his head. Grabbing the bucket, he went to feed the other prisoners. If nothing went awry, they wouldn't check on him till morning. Once he was done feeding the prisoners, he followed another guard to what he assumed was a barracks of some kind. Naruto grabbed a kunai, twirling it as he looked around the room and counted the number of ninja inside. He acted like he saw something by the fridge and pointed. What the hell is that? When the rest of a ninja looked, he ran over and slit their throats. Now to hide the bodies. With agility and precision the likes only a shinobi could muster, he hid the corpses in beds, fridges, wherever really. When he was done, he walked calmly into the hall, closing and locking the door behind him. Now, to find the exit. He walked down the winding hall, trying his best to look as cruel and aloof as possible. Finally, he saw a doorway with white light flooding out of it, sunlight. He could barely contain his excitement as he walked out the door and ran off into the forest. He ran for what felt like ages, his legs burning and his neck hurting. Once he was sure he was in the clear, he stopped for a break. Pulling the balaclava off, he pulled a loaf of bread from his pocket and began to eat, drinking from a flask of water. When he was done, he put the mask back on and continued heading east. He ran well into the night and early morning. He had no idea where he was going, but he sure as hell wasn't going back. At some point, he fell against a tree and went to sleep. He woke up the next morning to the sound of battle. Thinking fast, he jumped into the tree and hid, watching from behind the leaves. He was ironically enough hidden in the leaves. He tried to see what was going on, but couldn't make out much other than clashing swords and cries of terror. When the battle was over, a voice, masculine and soft, called out to him, "You can come out now." He hopped from the tree, kunai in hand, ready to strike at a moment's notice. He walked out to the clearing and saw a white-haired boy with bones protruding from his back. Must be a Keki-eyed Genkai. He thought silently to himself. "Did Orochimaru-sama send you?" the boy asked. Naruto paled. No, I was just headed to the nearby base." Kimimaro nodded. "It's just behind the waterfall that way." Naruto nodded and went to leave when the boy smirked and suddenly slashed at Naruto with a blade made out of bone, removing his mask. "There is no base that way. What are you doing out of your cage, Fox?" Naruto paled, quickly getting in a stance to defend himself. "Come, we're going back now." Naruto growled. "You think I'm just going to listen and run back to that hole you threw me in?" Kimimaro shrugged. "You can come willingly, or I can make you. It's your choice." Naruto responded aptly by summoning an army of clones and charging a Rinnegan. "Up yours!" The clones all dashed at Kimimaro, but he slashed most of them to pieces. He was caught off guard, however, when he caught a kunai tossed from a tree, and it transformed into a clone. Latching on his arm, the others took the opportunity, dogpiling him. Once he was restrained, the real Naruto had a clone toss him at the man, driving a Rinnegan into his chest. "Eat this." Naruto shouted enraged. Kimimaro sighed in annoyance and activated his curse mark. Naruto felt a blast of chakra and was suddenly impaled in his arms and legs by bones that popped out of his shoulders and knees. What are you? Naruto asked in a fearful tone. Kimimaro smiled callously. I'm Orochimaru's perfect vessel now. Come, we've wasted enough time. He pulled his spine from his back, bending it around Naruto's wrists. Naruto tried to pull it off or break through it, but to no avail. It's harder than steel. Naruto clawed and fought, trying his best to resist being dragged back to hell. Kimimaro was annoyed, so he shot a bone bullet into Naruto's neck, quickly incapacitating him. At the same time, Jiraiya arrived in the village and ran like a bat out of hell, straight through the gates into the Hokage Tower. He rushed up the tower and burst through the doors to the office. Here, Naruto, Wadash. Tsunade paled, seeing her half-dead teammate. Relax, Jiraiya, you're of no use to us if you're half-dead. He took a second to collect his breath. I got Shizen's message and I ran here as fast as I could. What's going on? Tsunade took a melancholy look. You'll want to sit down for this. He nodded and took a seat. Tsunade pulled out a bottle of sake and took a swig before speaking. Jiraiya could already tell this was going to be bad. Tsunade tried to tell him, holding back tears. It seems Naruto was killed in action. Jiraiya's eyes widened in disbelief. What? No. How? Tsunade looked grim. A rogue ninja. Jiraiya paled. He couldn't believe this. First he loses his parents, then the AIM orphans, then Minato, and now Naruto. What Tsunade said clicked within him. A rogue ninja? Shit, what about the QB? Tsunade nodded. That's why we called you here. You have a copy of Minato's seal, don't you? He nodded, digging into his pocket. 1 second. He pulled out a summoning scroll and bit his finger as he shouted. Kuchiyose no Jutsu. He slammed his palm on the ground. A second later, a frog with a scroll for an abdomen appeared. Jiraiya-chan, why have you called me here? Did the seal slip again? Jiraiya looked at him with a confused expression. The frog merely raised his eyebrows, wondering why Jiraiya would summon him. What do you mean, the seal should be broken? Naruto's dead. It took him a lot of courage to say that. The frog looked at him annoyed and pulled open the scroll showing seal matrix. Have you gone senile? Look right here. The seal is intact, which means he's very much alive. Jiraiya fell to his knees in relief, tears of joy pouring down his cheeks. Thank Kami. Tsunade let out a breath she didn't know she'd been holding, wiping a tear from her eye. I'm so happy to hear that. I was afraid we'd lost him. Her lip quivered at the thought. Jiraiya looked grimly. But still, if he's not dead, then that means he's being held prisoner, and who knows what they plan to do with him. Jiraiya stood, having found a newfound motivation to track Naruto down. Tsunade paled at the thought of Naruto being tortured. She broke a handful out of her desk, wood cracking as she thought about it. Orochimaru's hideout. Naruto awoke in the same cramped hell hole he'd been in before. Kemi, damn it. I thought I had finally escaped. He punched the wall with all his might, blood dripping from his shattered knuckles. Great strategy, dumbass. He turned to see the same red-haired girl from the day before. Why do you care? You probably just sit here to watch me suffer. Huh. I swear all of you are sick. She smirked. No, but that's an added bonus. He flipped her off before returning to stare at the wall. After a precious few moments of silence, he turned to her. So, how is it that someone like you came to run with a creep like Orochimaru? She shrugged. What do you expect me to say? That I was some mislead orphan and he took me in? That he threatened my family? That I'm shagging him? She shuddered at the thought. I was hungry and tired. He had food and a place for me to sleep. I didn't want to die. He let me live. It's as simple as that. Naruto nodded. Remind me of someone I knew once. He thought back to the boy in the land of waves who sacrificed himself for his precious one. Yeah, well, they're an idiot, and so am I. Nothing matters in this world. We eat, we sleep, we shit, we die. It's as simple as that. Naruto smiled, a cold smile. You're a real optimist, you know that. She smirked. And you're a smart-ass, dickless, shithead. Shut up and let me read, or I'll make sure you don't get dinner tonight. He shrugged and leaned against the wall, closing his eyes. Before he knew it, he fell asleep. When he woke up, the same girl he was arguing with before was currently standing over him. He jumped in surprise. What the hell are you doing? She chuckled. I know you're planning to off me in my sleep, aren't you? She looked down at him, annoyed by his remark. If I was going to kill you, I'd make sure you knew it was me. He sighed. Then what were you doing? She looked curious. I was just looking at those marks on your face. Are you some kind of furry? Naruto growled, annoyed. I was born with them due to Kyuubi. Not that it matters. Get out of my face. She shrugged. Whatever, shitbird. She closed the cell door behind her and resumed her reading. Naruto sighed in annoyance. He did find it amusing, though, how she came up with nicknames for him. This blows. He rolled onto his shoulder and began rocking back and forth in boredom. Eventually, he faded into his thoughts and began wandering the halls of his mindscape. He heard the familiar dark chuckle of his tenant and went to speak with him. Hey, Kitsumbaka, what's so funny? The Nine Tails continued to laugh hysterically. This Rinnegan, I quite like her. You should consider making her your mate. Naruto looked at him confused. Mate, what do you mean by that? The Nine Tails put a giant furry paw to his face. How dense can you be, Kit? Talk about being a dysfunctional human being. Naruto growled. I might not know what you're talking about, but I know when you're calling me stupid, you damn fox. The Nine Tails growled at the boy. I call it like I see it, and you are the most idiotic Rinnegan I've ever had the displeasure of sharing a soul with. Naruto smirked and pointed a finger at the Kyuubi. Yeah, well, the feelings are mutual, you damn baka fox. Naruto growled. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have things to do. The fox snorted sarcastically. What? Compare jail cells? Bite me, you damn fox. It laughed to itself while Naruto ignored it, leaving his mindscape. Naruto huffed in annoyance. Can you just kill me already? It's preferable given the circumstance. Tayuya smirked. and miss out on the witty conversation. Naruto gave her the finger. With this, she chuckled. Oh, testy. She stood up, folding her book, and turned to leave. Welp, my shift's over half funnier box. She waved, turning to leave, stick of takoyaki in hand. Naruto growled. I hope you choke. She chuckled on her way out. Naruto sighed. I wonder what everyone back home is doing. Back in Konoha, Sasuke punched the training dummy, its wooden facade shattering and flying across the garden. He felt an intense, burning rage within himself. He had been greatly relieved that Naruto was alive, but the feeling had only grown stronger. He had allowed his best friend to be captured by the enemy. As he imagined the smug face of the blue-haired bastard, he felt a familiar sensation in his eyes. Suddenly, black flames shot out of his eyes, engulfing the training dummy. What the hell? He stared at the blazing flames in shock and wonder. They ate through the dummy, completely engulfing it in a sea of dark fire. Black flames. He knew then. As his fist tightened, he had a lot of research to do. Naruto awoke to another day of monotonous hell. It had been 6 days since they had recaptured him, and aside from the occasional spat with Tayuya, he had nothing to do. Part of him wanted to just end it, but another part hoped that someone would rescue him. Bored, he bounced a rock off the wall. Throw, catch. Repeat. The activity had become boring long ago, but the annoyed huffs, sighs, and glares from Tayuya were worth it. He had to admit, for an enemy ninja, she was quite the cute one when she was pissed. Can you stop, you dumb bastard? It was always funny seeing her get worked up like this. Her face would always turn red, making her look like a tomato. He shrugged. Sure, as soon as you let me go, Tomato-chan. He smirked, pissing her off even more. She looked away coldly. I'm good. I'd rather not face Orochimaru-sama's wrath. He sighed lightly. Ugh. He huffed, leaning against the cold stone wall. Meanwhile, in Konoha, Kakashi picked up the dog feces, placing it into the plastic bag he was carrying. Tsunade had spared him the evisceration he was expecting. Honestly, though, this might be worse. Sasuke walked on the water, poking the metal cans with the poker, tossing them into the cloth bag. Sakura pulled the weeds and tossed them into the black trash bag. Sakura turned to face her sensei, annoyance clear on her face. Kakashi sensei isn't 3 weeks of D-rank missions excessive punishment. Kakashi chuckled. Count your lucky stars you still have ahead. She sighed and continued picking the weeds. 3 days later, Orochimaru's hideout. Naruto smacked his head off the wall repeatedly. The blood and pain was a nice break from the boredom. He annoyed Tayuya, constantly ignoring her barrage of death threats. At this point, he welcomed it. He stood up, ignoring the pain in his legs. He didn't exactly have room to roam, so he rarely, if ever, stood. It was causing his muscles to atrophy. Tayuya turned her interest peaked. Shithead, what are you doing? He glared at her, answering sarcastically. I'm blowing your mother. What do you think I'm doing? I'm fucking bored. He reared back, channeling chakra into his arms, and smacked the bars with all of his might. Nice try, but that's chakra, reinforced steel. You'll need a lot more than that to break through them. He smirked. Good to know. Hey, can you take me to the bathroom? She sighed, annoyed. Again, he smirked. Unless you want me to whip it out here and now. She chuckled. You're a funny guy, but don't push your luck. She opened the cell. Let's go. Konoha. Tsunade and Jiraiya were observing the seal with extreme prejudice. An array of Fuinjutsu users formed a circle around them, a massive ceiling matrix covering the room. While Jiraiya will it work? He shushed her, earning a glare. Why, yeah, I think it will, but it's a one-time use. We must be ready. She nodded, smiling. Thank Kami. Jiraiya smirked. Let's find our Naruto. Orochimaru's hideout, days later. Tayuya. He looked around. Tayuya. He sat up. Hello. He reached for a rock and tossed it at her, breaking her focus. Oh, dickless. Sorry, forgot you were there. Naruto growled. You're the only company I have in this shithole. You could at least show compassion. She shrugged. Why not my boyfriend? Naruto smirked. Oh, so you like boys, and here I thought you batted for the other team. She gave him a victorious smirk, and he knew he was in trouble. Oh, really? Because from what Orochimaru-sama has told me, you and Sasuke are both really, and I mean really close. Naruto sputtered disgustedly. EW, like I would ever, with Sasuke disgusting. She chuckled. I'm just yanking your chain. I know you like girls. I've heard you in your sleep. Oh, Sakura-chan. Sakura. He blushed neon red, looking away. Whatever, just read your dumb book. I will, thank you. He briefly pondered to himself why he hadn't just gone to QB and busted out. Maybe some sick part of him enjoyed it. It was the first time he'd ever met someone he could be real with. Oi, Tayuya-chan, tell me about yourself? She blushed at the use of the chan suffix before regaining herself, looking annoyed. Well, Naruto-kun, if you really must know, I was born in the grass village. I lived with my bachan until someone killed her during an enemy attack. She maintained a cold and indifferent exterior, but he could see this story was affecting her internally. I ran away not wanting to die or be raped like the other women in my village, so I wandered the wilderness for weeks, starving till Orochimaru-sama found me. She looked at him with a sad, angry look. It was vulnerable and bare. Happy. He nodded. Yes, you were honest and real. Thank you. She smirked aloofly. Don't get used to it, Dickliskin. He yawned and lay back, falling asleep. Konoha, Hokage office. Tsunade stood firm, clenching her fists in righteous fury. She looked out the window at the setting sun in the distance. Behind her was a hand-picked team of specialized Chunin, Jonin, and ANBU, created for retrieving Naruto, whatever the cost. Leading them was a member of the legendary Sannin, Jiraiya himself. If this didn't work, nothing would. It was all or nothing, and for once she liked her odds. Jiraiya. He smirked. Yes, Heim. Go. The hideout same day. Naruto had nothing better to do, and the brash girl captivated him. Or rather, the gentle interior she pretended wasn't there. He had been slowly chipping away at her with questions and conversation. He had learned little, but he cherished every piece. Her full name is Tayuya Sato. Place of origin, Kusagakur. Cup size? He blushed. Damn it, Erosenin, you're rubbing off on me. He turned to the girl before him as she snored lightly. The moonlight reflecting off of her pale skin gave her complexion an almost magical glow. He reached through the bars and gently caressed her face. He smirked. It would have been real easy to strangle her and maybe get out of here if I wanted. He tossed a rock at her, waking her up amid a sea of profanities. You shouldn't drop your guard, you know. He chuckled, grunting in pain as she punched him in the stomach. She moaned back sarcastically. You shouldn't drop your guard either, dickless Gwen. He raised his hands defensively. My bad. She glared. Whatever. Thanks for waking me up. I have to go. She turned around and left. You forgot your book. She yelled back amid laughter. Read it. You need the brain cells. He blushed in embarrassment. I'm not stupid. She smirked. No, but you sure are dickless. He sighed and lay back, watching the stars in the sky until he fell asleep once again. Kusa, 2 days later. Jiraiya raised his hand, motioning the squad to stop. Kakashi turned to him. What is it, Jiraiya-sama? Jiraiya pointed to a faint reflection of light in the distance. Kurigwai. He motioned to 2 of the ANBU, and they each ran to one side in unison. One of them cut the wire, the other opening a scroll. As the explosion went off, the scroll nullified the sound and sucked it in. Be ready for more, we're getting close. Back at the hideout, Naruto had gotten tired of this. It had been 3 days since he had seen Tayuya, and he had no reason to remain imprisoned there. With that in mind, he went into his mindscape. I'll get back so soon. Naruto growled. It's been over 2 weeks, you stupid fox. The QB smirked. What's got your fur in a not relationship troubles? Naruto made a rude gesture with his arms. Just give me power, already I'll tear the damn seal. The fox chuckled. As you wish, Naruto-sama. The fox exuded chakra. It took the form of a wave of orange water which grabbed Naruto and lifted him into the air. Now tear the seal. Right off. Free me from my prison, and I will free you from yours. Naruto smirked. Sorry, Fox, I relate to your struggle, but I'm not stupid. Naruto tore a tiny corner piece off of the seal and felt a sudden surge of chakra. That should be enough. The fox roared in anger. Let me out, Nin-jin. I will rend the flesh from your bones. Naruto waved. Sayonara. He left his mindscape and felt a sudden burst of energy, his legs magically healing. He stood up and broke the bindings off his ankles and wrists. And now to break out of here. Outside the hideout, Kusa, Jiraiya, and company were preparing to storm the hideout when they felt a sudden surge of sinister chakra. The QB, Jiraiya, shook his head. No, I know that chakra, anywhere it's different, but there are definitely bits of Orochimaru in it. They heard a moan of pain and turned back to see Anko grabbing her neck. It's curse-marked chakra, I know it is. Jiraiya nodded, turning to the squad. Tread carefully. Hideout interior. Naruto reared back and punched the bars only for someone to grab his wrist. He turned and came face to face with Orochimaru. Well, Naruto-kun, leaving so soon. And without a goodbye, Naruto growled and slashed at the man with a Kyuubi cloaked hand. Orochimaru quickly let go of the hand he was holding as the Kyuubi's chakra was slowly poisoning him. The man flipped backwards, dodging Naruto's attempts to strike him effortlessly. With his experience, he cracked an unamused smile at the Genin's attack. "You're 100 years too young to beat me, Naruto-kun." Orochimaru spoke with a smirk while dodging another barrage of blows from Naruto's clones. Having had enough of this, he let out a massive wave of chakra, causing all of Naruto's clones to dispel, sending the main one backwards into the wall. Naruto couldn't move anymore. He felt paralyzed by the sheer intent radiating off of the man. Other than the Kyuubi, he had never felt such powerful Ball chakra before. Orochimaru quickly had one of his poisonous snakes bite Naruto in the neck, effectively knocking him out. He knew he had to get out of here soon. He could sense shinobi nearby. Most likely Leaf Ninja, since he could sense Anko, his former apprentice. He activated Anko's curse seal to slow the Leaf Nin down. Grabbing Naruto, both disappeared into the ground. He had already notified the Sound Four to head towards another base of his, in the land of Earth far from Konohagakure no Sato. He was sure nobody would find him there. It was time for his plans to take effect. Little did he know, though, Akatsuki base, unknown location. Is everyone here? A man with a green scarf and orange spiral mask sat atop a statue, his crimson eye glowing. 9 holograms appeared atop the fingers of the statue. A blue-haired woman answered mundanely. "Here." A man with long black hair and red eyes answered calmly. "Here." A blond man answered with a bored sigh. "Here, HN." A blue fish-like man answered in his gravelly voice. "Here." 2 voices answered in unison. "Here/here." A silver-haired man with a scythe answered annoyed. "Here." These meetings are always so annoying. A red-haired man answered in a soft voice. "I'm here. Can we get a move on?" "I agree with Sasori. Time is money." A man with a low, deep voice answered. "Pain, you know what to do." A hologram of a man with concentric ring-like eyes nodded. "Very well. Madara, we will finish Orochimaru once and for all." The hologram of Pain turned to the other figures. "Now that we've all arrived in Kusa, Conan and I will stay back and survey the area for any stragglers." He cracked his neck coolly. "The rest of you assault the base. Make sure the snake does not escape, but do not kill the Jinchuriki. We need him alive." There was a series of highs as the holograms poofed away, leaving only the masked man in the cave. His red eye glowed with satisfaction. He pulled off his mask, his voice raising in pitch. All according to plan. Hideout exterior. Jiraiya ran over checking on Anko as she collapsed in pain, screaming as her curse mark spread. "Anko, are you okay?" He made a hand seal and put a hand on her neck. The chakra receded and she fell unconscious. "Bear, take her." The masked man picked her up. Hi there, Sama. Jiraiya turned to Kakashi and Tenzo. Let's do this. He kicked the door open, and they rushed inside. Naruto awoke in a barrel. He could feel he was being carried at a rapid pace, most likely by shinobi. All of a sudden, he heard a whooshing noise, and he felt himself falling to the ground, the barrel breaking. He tumbled out and looked up. He saw two men with black cloaks with red cloud patterns fighting the group that had captured him, minus Tayuya. The red-haired man had a puppet with a bladed arm and long, shaggy black hair. The two-headed blue-haired man and large orange-haired man were fighting it, dodging its blade in waves of black sand. The red-haired man smirked. You are both interesting specimens. After I defeat you, you will join my collection. The man with 6 arms was fighting a range battle with a blonde man who was chuckling while tossing clay birds at him. I'll show you my art, you 6-armed freak. Naruto tried to climb to his feet when he was lifted into the air by his shirt collar. He turned and saw a dark man with pink and green eyes tossing him over his shoulder. Don't struggle, Gaki, or I'll steal your heart. The man began to run off, later being joined by a man with gray hair. Did you deal with that bone freak, Haiden? The scythe-wielding man growled. No, you stupid heathen, I couldn't get past his fucking thick bones. Kakuzu looked annoyed. And you let him here, you idiot. Kimimaro rushed the men spinning with his bones. They hopped away. Give the QB back. He belongs to Orochimaru-sama. Kakuzu glared at him coldly. Sorry, Gaki. He belongs to us now. Although it would be nice if you called your master out here. He has a pricey bounty on his head that I would like to collect. Kakuzu shot his arm at the boy threads stretching from his severed bicep. Kimimaro tried to slash the threads with his bone blade, only to end up wrapped in them. Haiden smirked. That won't work. Kakuzu's threads are made of a near unbreakable material. Kimimaro paled as Kakuzu's mask tore off of his face, his hair flowing upward and threads flying from his mouth. I apologize. Normally I would take my time, but pain will dock my pay if we take too long. 3 masked beasts shot off of his back and opened their mouths, fire, wind, and lightning crackling in their jaws. It's over, fire style, severely searing migraine. The fire and lightning mixed before crashing into the wind and exploding in a gust of flames and sparks. Earth and dust shot from the impact zone, obscuring their vision. Haiden turned to Kakuzu. Do you think you got him? Kakuzu looked at him annoyed. You doubt me, Haiden. Do you want to die? Haiden sighed. We've been over this, Kakuzu. You can't kill me. I'm immortal. The dust began to clear, and their eyes widened as they saw he was still standing. The skin on his chest and arms burned away to reveal muscle and bone. A tail began to grow from his back, his eyes turning yellow as bone spikes grew from his back. He roared and charged the gray-haired man. Give me the QB. Haiden smirked and stood still, letting the man's bone lance pierce his chest. Kimimaro looked at him confused. You didn't dodge it? Haiden swung his scythe, scratching Kimimaro's cheek. Why would I? You can't kill me. Like I told my partner Kakuzu here, I'm immortal. He pulled himself off of the lance, flipping back to the ground. On the other hand, can kill you with this. Jashin-sama, I hope I make you proud with this sacrifice. Haydn tossed blood from his chest onto the grass, turning it into a circle with an upside-down triangle around himself. Licking the blood on his scythe, he smiled, his eyes shining with crazed glee. The ritual is complete. Now die. He pulled a steel stake from his leg, stabbing himself in the kidney. Kimimaro fell onto his stomach, coughing up blood. Haydn laughed maniacally. What do you think? The pain is exquisite, is it not? Jashin-sama will congratulate me for this. His eyes fluttered with gleams of pleasure, seeing his enemy like this. Let's explore a new pain together. He turned to his partner, looking him dead in the eye. Kakuzu used that jutsu. Kakuzu smirked. You don't have to tell me twice. He shot a fourth masked beast from his back. Two of them returned his chest. Water style, tonal sever. The new masked beast shot a jet of water the wind east, striking it with a blade of wind. Kimimaro tried to crawl away, holding his kidney and coughing up blood. Haydn laughed maniacally. Yes, let me feel that pain, that wonderful pain. The blade of pressurized water struck Haydn in the chest, bisecting him diagonally. Kimimaro grabbed his chest in pain as a large slash appeared across it. His curse mark receded as he let out a labored breath. My apologies, Orochimaru-sama, I can't dash. He let out a long breath, his eyes closing. Haydn crawled with his arms towards his lower half. All right, Kakuzu, stitch me back together already. Kakuzu nodded. Hold still. Threads shot out his arms and began to pull his two halves together, crudely stitching them in place. We need to go. Leader Sama will get impatient soon. Haydn nodded and followed him through the trees. Hideout interior, same time. Jiraiya and company entered the hideout only to see it in total disarray. Kakashi turned to the Sannin. Where is everybody? This place is a ghost town. Jiraiya looked around, sending chakra to his nose to get a better sense of smell. It smells like death here. I don't think anyone's left. Jiraiya checked for any traps the motion for them to proceed. They crossed a corner and arrived at a prison block. Sound ninja were strewn about the room, some shredded to pieces, others burned alive. Kakashi paled. This was the work of Itachi and Kisame. Jiraiya nodded. Then that means Naruto isn't here. We need to go and check the surrounding forest. Tenzo, you, and Hawk continue to search the hideout, just in case. They nodded and ran off to look. Jiraiya grimaced. First Orochimaru, and now the Akatsuki. This is a huge mess. This mission just got a lot more difficult. Edge of the forest, 30 minutes later. Kakuzu and Haydn arrived at the rendezvous point just as the rest of the members did. Pain turned to face them. Deidara, Sasori report? Sasori sighed. We couldn't find Orochimaru. Only some lackeys of his. We dealt with them. Pain nodded. Kakuzu, Haydn. Kakuzu tossed Naruto onto the ground at his feet. Mission accomplished. Pain cracked his knuckles and began to gather chakra. Very well, Sasori. Deidara continued to search the surrounding area for the snake. Haydn, Kazu, take the Jinchuriki back to the base. The man's ringed eyes glue with power. Itachi and Kisame will meet you there and begin preparation for the sealing. Kakuzu nodded. What about you and Conan? He began to levitate into the air, and she floated above him with wings of paper. We will level this forest and ensure that nothing breathing remains now go. They nodded with a series of highs and vanished. Pain began to strain his eyes, tossing a black orb of dense chakra into the air. Planetary devastation. The trees were uprooted and the ground cracked as everything began to fly toward the calamity. Back with the squad of Leaf Ninja, Jiraiya paled. Kakashi turned to him. What is that? Jiraiya pulled a scroll from his pouch. There's no time, we need to reverse summon out of here. Everyone grab on. He bit his finger and slammed his palm onto the scroll, a massive purple frog appearing. Kuchiyose no Hutsu. The squad fell, in each grabbing part of the frog. Jiraiya made a one-handed seal, and they vanished in a cloud of smoke, just as the area around them shattered and flew towards the sky. Center of calamity, a few moments later, Conan turned to her leader. Well, Nagato, what now? The man stared at the orb of stone and felt blood leak from his nose as he paled. I used too much chakra. He released it, and it crashed into the earth with a mighty thud as shattered trees, earth, and wreckage from the hideout filled the area. Dust flew into the sky for miles as birds flew away from the sound. Let's go, Conan. We need to begin the ritual. She nodded, putting a hand on his shoulder, and they vanished amid a swirl of paper. 5 minutes later, Konoha, Jiraiya and company arrived back at the Leaf Village after a second reverse summoning, this time one of Kakashi's dogs who happened to be in the vet at the time. Thanks, boy, you really saved our skin. The large dog barked, licking Kakashi's face. Jiraiya turned to him, sighing. We need to report back to Tsunade, so prepare yourself. Kakashi shrugged. I think my luck's finally run out, and I've accepted my fate. It's been a pleasure serving with you. Jiraiya nodded, wiping a dramatic tear from his eye. And you? They left for the Hokage Tower as the rest of the squad followed, hugging and crying amongst themselves. 5 hours later, unknown location. Naruto woke up and moved his hands, feeling bindings on his wrists. He sighed in frustration. Damn it, can people stop tying me up already? He looked up and saw a statue with several cloaked figures standing on the fingers. As he gazed up, he saw 2 holograms appear. Now that we're all here, let's begin the extraction. Naruto raised his hands and began thrashing around. Let me go, you bastards. I'll rip your throats out with my teeth, if I have to. Obito sighed atop the statue. Kakuzu, restrain him further. Kakuzu nodded, sighing as well. Yes, Madara-sama. He hopped down from the finger of the statue and shot his arms around Naruto, the threads entangling his neck. Naruto began to bite and claw at the threads, struggling for air. Just go to sleep, Gaki. It'll all be over soon. Naruto paled as he felt his mind begin to cloud, his eyes rolling back as he fell unconscious. Pain nodded. Let us resume. Kakuzu hopped back onto his finger and made a hand sign. The other figures nodded and raised their hands in matching hand signs, lights appearing on the statue's fingers. Sealing jutsu, 9 phantom dragons. The statue's mouth opened and 9 ghostly dragons shot out, crashing into Naruto's chest and pulling the chakra out of him. Deidara turned to Pain. How long do you think it'll take us to extract the QB? Pain stared down indifferently. The Nanabai took 3 days, so I'd assume anywhere between 4 and 5 days. The blond man sighed. This is so exhausting. Haydn echoed his sentiment, groaning. Jashin-sama won't be happy I'm wasting so much time. I could be killing someone right now. Shut up, Haydn. You're always going on and on about killing. You're fucked up in the head. You know that? Deidara barked out. Both men kept on bickering to everyone else's annoyance. Itachi was merely watching passively the whole time. Internally, he didn't support this at all. He was merely supposed to infiltrate the Akatsuki and spy for the leaf. Things don't always go as planned, though. He was hoping that Naruto would be able to survive the unsealing. He'd heard tales about the Uzumaki being able to survive this type of thing, but he wasn't sure. Mito Uzumaki was able to seal the Kyuubi into herself even after having developed chakra coils. The Uzumaki's life force was second to none. She was also able to seal it into Kushina Uzumaki at the age of 78 years and be able to live another 6 years, dying at the age of 84 years old. He was hoping that would be the case with Naruto, to be able to survive. If Naruto did survive, he would take it upon himself to protect him no matter what. He had already failed his brother's best friend once. He wouldn't fail him again. Naruto awoke in the dark. His hands were bound, and he felt extremely weak, his skin pale and cold to the touch. He felt a warm cloth bed under his back. He struggled with his bindings and rolled onto his side. Gaining too much momentum, he rolled off the edge of the bed, falling onto the cold stone floor. He threw up onto the stone floor and rolled onto his back. He looked around for anyone. The room contained a single bed and a desk with a candle on it. He saw a man sitting on an alcove staring down at him. He could see his single red eye beaming in amusement. Is that the Sharingan? Naruto paled to himself. The man spoke. Uzumaki, huh? You look just like him. Naruto could tell this man was powerful. His presence alone had him shaking. The man was mysterious, and his voice, it was so blank and dead, devoid of any emotion. Naruto looked up at the man weakly, barely able to speak. He tried to speak, even though his throat felt like it was drier than a desert in Suna. How do you know who I am? And who is this? The man chuckled. The Yondaime Hokage Minato Namikaze. He spoke, shifting from his seat. And as to how I know who you were, it's simple, really. I was there the night you were born. He stood up, his dark green scarf flowing. You really are an Uzumaki to think you would survive the extraction, just like Kushina before you. The man adjusted his mask, sighing. Naruto looked at him curiously. Who is Kushina? The man smirked and spoke. The previous holder of the QB and your mother. And my mother? Naruto's eyes widened considerably. His mother was the previous QB Jinchuriki? Was she treated like trash too? Did people avoid her like they did with him? The man nodded. Wanting more information, Naruto looked at him desperately. What happened to her? Where's she now? Asked Naruto. He wondered if his mother was still alive. The man's eyes smiled sinisterly, speaking. She's long gone from this world. I'm afraid the QB saw to that before I ever got the chance. Naruto nodded, wiping a slight tear from his eye. At least I know now. He was in a world of disarray. He was happy that he found out who his mother was, though. The man shrugged, not caring in the slightest about the child's feelings. He needed to grow up, just like he had to. Justify it however you want. You're still an orphan. Naruto nodded grimly. And my father, did you know him too? The man smirked under his mask. Well, you see, your father was the Yondaime himself. Naruto looked at him shocked. But how? The man looked at him and spoke plainly. The same way other children are conceived. Naruto's sweat dropped. I suppose you'll kill me now. Naruto accepted his fate. He knew he would die one day, but never this early. He wished he could have done more in life, but he was also slightly happy. Maybe he would get to see his family now. Madara looked at him, annoyed as he spoke. I had planned to originally, but other members have convinced me that you could be an asset. Naruto growled at him. If you think I'm going to work with you, you're dead wrong. The man smirked. You think you have a choice? Free will is merely just an illusion. As he said that, Itachi walked into the room. Sorry, Madara, the preparations took longer than expected. The man nodded. Very well, take the boy. Itachi walked over, picking up Naruto, and carried him into the adjacent room. He set Naruto in the center of the room, and Naruto saw a ceiling matrix spread across the floor. What did you guys do to me? Did you take the QB? The man now known as Madara nodded. Now we're taking your memories, and you will become a weapon for the Akatsuki. Naruto thrashed violently. I'd rather die. Madara smirked. I would be happy to arrange that, if only I could. He turned to Itachi, his red eye glinting with impatience. Is it ready yet? Itachi nodded. It should be sufficient if we combine our Sharingan prowess. The seal will do the rest. Madara nodded. Let's get this over with. The man turned to the blond boy who paled at the prospect of his memories being wiped. Goodbye, Uzumaki Naruto. The man's Sharingan spiraled into a windmill-esque pattern, and Itachi activated his as well, taking on a shuriken shape. They spoke in unison. Gohano no Kisi, Indarashuru, /Gohano no Kisi, Indarashuru. 5 flames formation, Indra's seal. Naruto saw ghostly white flames strike his forehead and felt his eyes roll back as everything became white. He slowly felt his consciousness slip away as he felt his memories burned away by the flames one by one. In the real world, the ceiling matrix began to shrink in on itself, covering Naruto in marks which slowly receded towards his head. Finally, they settled in a crescent moon shape on his forehead with the kanji for 5 behind it. It disappeared promptly as he fell back. Itachi turned to Madara, nodding. It is done. Madara looked at the boy curiously. When will he awake? Itachi put a finger to his chin, pondering for a second. The shock to his hippocampus will likely render him comatose for a time. My guess would be anywhere from 3 days to a month. Madara nodded. Very well, you're in charge of his care until he awakes. Madara turned and walked away, adjusting his scarf. Itachi looked down at the boy. As you wish. Konoha, 2 days earlier, Jiraiya and his squad entered Tsunade's office, saying their prayers and preparing to meet their maker. When they arrived, Jiraiya bit the bullet and decided to break the news himself, dismissing all but Kakashi. He walked up and put his hands on the desk, bowing his head in shame. Tsunade-Heim, I'm sorry, but when we arrived at the base, the Akatsuki had already invaded and stolen Naruto. He's gone. She nodded somberly. Then we failed. He's gone forever. She grabbed her desk in anguish, her lip quivering as her eyes darkened with sorrow. Why, Jiraiya? Why is everything taken from us? He shook his head grimly. I don't know, Heim. I don't know. He put a hand on her shoulder and pulled her into a hug. She began to sob into his chest while he tried to hold back his own tears. Kakashi stood in the corner of the room, his headband covering his eye not to hide his Sharingan, but the tears that ran down his cheeks. Somewhere on the border of Iwa and Kusa, 5 days later, on the outskirts of a jungle with a rocky wasteland in front of her, Tayuya came to a stop, breathing heavily. She had finally managed to lose her tails after 2 weeks of jumping from village to village. She had headed to Suna first before passing through the land of fire towards Kimo. During this trip, she had killed 3 or 4 squads of Odo ninja that were pursuing her, and she had lost count honestly. She had circled back to Kusa, figuring they wouldn't expect her to head closer to the snake den. From there, she traveled to the border of Iwa. Tayuya sat down on a boulder, pulling her flask from her hip. Damn, it's humid here, this damn sun won't stop shining. What I wouldn't give for a cloud or 2. She poured the last of her water into her parched mouth, gracing her dry, cracked lips with much-needed moisture. Snake Pedo was damn persistent. I guess I was worth more than I thought. She climbed to her feet, continuing her trek towards Iwa. She would enter under the pretense of being a civilian refugee and hide there for a couple months till things blew over. With that in mind, she continued on her journey, unaware of the tail following her. Konohagakure no Sato. Sasuke sparred with Neji, while Sakura and Tintin sat on the nearby bench watching half-heartedly and talking amongst themselves. I still can't believe Naruto's gone. It's strange not hearing his voice or seeing his Kill Me orange jumpsuit streaking through the village. Sakura nodded. I think of all the times I yelled at him when he asked me for dates. I wish I would have taken him up on his offer. Sasuke's eyes were hidden in the shadows as he dodged Neji's half-hearted barrage of strikes, countering with a series of kicks. Neji-san, please don't hold back if I'm going to kill my brother and his bastard associates. I need to improve, do what you must. Neji nodded and prepared to go all out. Very well, Uchiha. Neji went in for a series of rapid strikes, catching Sasuke in the chest, neck, and shoulder. Sasuke grunted in pain and flew back, crashing into the dirt. Neji walked over, offering him a hand. I think that's good for today. Sasuke gritted his teeth and shook his head. No, it's not enough. I'll keep training until either I die or he does. He pictured his brother's face and growled in anger. Niji nodded. Fine, but don't blame me later. Kakashi, Asuma, and Anko sat under a nearby gazebo drinking tea and chatting. Kakashi wasn't much for conversation. It had been a week, but still he mourned the loss of his pupil. Anko put a hand on his shoulder. It'll be all right, Kakashi-kun. I felt the same way when my teammates, Sho and Nawaki, died. Kakashi nodded and took her hand, holding it tenderly. Thank you, Anko-chan, it means a lot. She blushed but nodded. Of course. 10 days later, Akatsuki base. The blond boy awoke in a bed. A raven-haired man watching over him. You're finally awake. He coughed, grabbing his head to regulate the searing pain. Who are you? Where am I? The man smiled gently. Don't worry, I am Itachi. You are in a safe place. The boy nodded. Who am I? Itachi looked at him, briefly considering if he should give him his real name. Your name is Kurasu. Akatsuki. Kurasu nodded. Thank you, Itachi Aniki. The man's eyes widened in surprise. Sure nah. I mean Kurasu Tudo. The boy tried to stand up only to groan in pain. My legs, I can't feel my legs. Itachi put a hand on his shoulder. It's okay, you had a bad accident. You've been in a coma. I'll have to help you relearn to walk. Kurasu smiled. Thanks, Aniki. Itachi's mouth twitched slightly upward, but he tried to hide it. For the next couple months, Itachi had to teach Kurasu how to walk and help him relearn his balance. His cerebrum had been affected by the jutsu, and his nerves were shaky, so at first his arms and hands would shake whenever he tried to move them. Eventually, he was able to relearn his basic motor functions, and Itachi decided it was time to teach him shinobi technique. Itachi put a finger to his chin and began to think internally. Without the kyubi and years of poor chakra habits, it's actually a blessing in disguise now. He can relearn the basics and properly use his chakra. Itachi waved the boy over. Kurasu, come here. I want to show you something. Kurasu hopped up from the bed where he was laying and ran over to his surrogate brother. What's up? He smiled his trademark smile, and Itachi felt the urge to smile himself. Damn, it was contagious. Now that you've regained your physical prowess, it's time I teach you about chakra. Kurasu's interest peaked. Chakra. Itachi nodded. The combination of spiritual and physical energy used to mold and control elemental ninjutsu. But first, you must learn the basics. Itachi reached into a bag and pulled out a leaf. A leaf? What am I going to do with that? Itachi put the leaf on his forehead, holding it in place with chakra. Whoa, that's so cool. Kurasu jumped in excitement. Itachi handed him the leaf. Now, it's your turn. Close your eyes and focus on the warm feeling flowing through your body. Direct it to your legs, then your arms, then to your head. Kurasu nodded in understanding and closed his eyes in focus. I think I can feel it in Nikki. Itachi nodded. Good, now move it to your forehead and hold it there. He stood up and walked behind the boy, grabbing a glass of tea. Focus on the sensation of the leaf and let the chakra slowly flow outward, surrounding the leaf and pulling it towards you. Kurasu smirked as he felt his chakra flowing up through his chest, into his neck, and to his head. I think I've got it. He moved his fingers away from the leaf and let his chakra hold it in place. Good, now focus on holding it there for 5 minutes. I'll tell you when the time is up. Kurasu nodded slightly, so as not to toss the leaf away. Same time, Konoha. It had been over 2 months since Naruto was taken by the Akatsuki. Jiraiya's spy network hadn't been able to turn up any info on the group. Aside from them doing mercenary contract for the villages, they kept a low profile. Orochimaru had also vanished, though Jiraiya wasn't nearly naive enough to presume him dead. Most likely he had slipped away and hidden in one of his holes till things blew over. Jiraiya climbed out of bed and turned to the sleeping Tsunade. She truly was beautiful when she was sleeping. It reminded him of when they went on missions together and he would take the first shift of guard duty. He would spend large increments of time just watching his sleeping teammates. He smiled melancholically. The death of Naruto had been the point which he and Tsunade had finally come together over. Though he was happy to finally have his love returned, he mourned his surrogate grandson. It was the pain he had felt over Minato times 10 combined with the guilt of not being there in time to save him. In short, the worst pain of a long and pained life. Jiraiya snuck out of the room silently so as not to wake Tsunade. She could be a real terror when woken prematurely, and he didn't need more shattered ribs. He made his way to a tea shop where Kakashi was waiting for him. Jiraiya-sama. Kakashi nodded, and Jiraiya caught a glimpse of a set of marks on his neck. So, Kakashi-chan is finally a man. How is Anko, by the by? Kakashi blushed, though his mask hid the fact. How'd you know? Jiraiya smirked. Please, I'd recognize love bites from a mile away. Kakashi nodded. She's good, a little worn out, but happy. Jiraiya smiled. I'm proud of you. I still remember when Minato came to me covered in marks after his honeymoon. Kushina was a fox in the bedroom, pun definitely intended. Kakashi chuckled lightly, imagining his sensei's blushing face. Anyway, on to the business at hand. Jiraiya nodded. The Akatsuki. Kakashi looked at him grimly. Though they've already taken Naruto, they still need to be dealt with before they capture any more bijou. Jiraiya nodded in agreement. I've got my network working overtime to track them, but they're skilled. It seems no more than 2 of them leave the base at a time. The man sighed. And they only return through reverse summoning, so who knows where that could be. Kakashi grimaced. I feared that would be the case. Jiraiya took a sip of his tea and put a reassuring hand on Kakashi's shoulder. Don't worry, Kakashi, we will avenge Naruto, but we need time to prepare. The next generation will need to be ready. So, I have a proposition. Kakashi looked at Jiraiya curiously. You and I will take your student Sasuke with us on a training trip. Kakashi nodded. Sasuke did have a large amount of potential, and with training from him and Jiraiya, he would be a force to be reckoned with. What do you say? Kakashi nodded. Fine, but we need to take Anko as well. Jiraiya chuckled. What? Can't stand those lonely nights. Kakashi blushed, but shook his head. No, though that is a bonus. Sasuke has a curse mark. I think between the 2 of you we can have him learn to control it and use it to his advantage. Jiraiya nodded in agreement. Very well, prepare your students. We'll begin the trip 3 days from now. Kakashi nodded and left to inform his lover. Jiraiya looked up at the morning sky. Wherever you're, Naruto, I hope you're doing okay. I hope you're having fun with your family up there. Kami knows you deserve someone to love you and care for you all your life. Kurasu awoke with a warm, fuzzy feeling percolating through his limbs. He got up from the floor and saw a series of leaves in a circle around him. How many did I get? Itachi smirked proudly. 33. I think, for 15 minutes. Kurasu beamed with pride. Itachi smiled subtly and thought to himself, it's more impressive than you know, Naruto. Though you no longer hold the QB, you still have your Uzumaki heritage, which means you have a chakra reserve on par with my own. Itachi got up and handed Naruto a glass of tea and a sandwich platter. Eat up. When you're done, we're going for a walk. Kurasu smiled widely. Really awesome. Kurasu rarely got to leave the hideout, though Itachi wouldn't tell him why. He knew there was a good reason and trusted his judgment. Meanwhile, on IW, Tayuya sat at a cafe eating a plate of sashimi when a figure sat across from her. She looked up and recognized the figure as Yoroi, a low-ranking Odo ninja. What do you want, Yotan? Are you trying to get yourself killed? The man smirked smugly. You wouldn't dare if you did. You'd be outed as a shinobi and banished from the village. Tayuya shrugged. I've been meaning for a change of scenery anyway. Yoroi looked at her and flashed a kunai under his sleeve. This is your final warning. Come with me now, and Orochimaru-sama may show leniency. Tayuya scoffed. Like I'd ever return to that creep, tell him he can shove that kunai you know where. Tayuya took a bite of her sashimi before locking eyes with the man, giving him a murderous glare. This is your final warning. Leave now, or I'll kill you where you stand, or sit. Whatever, shut up. The man nodded and turned to leave. This isn't over. Tayuya smirked and yelled at the man, ignoring the annoyed glances of the restaurant patrons. Blow your grandmother for me. The man growled but continued out. She sighed, returning to her lunch. Same time, forest near Tanzakagai province. Sasuke sat up, cracking his neck and shoulders. He looked up at the sky and saw the afternoon sun burning high. Damn it, they let me oversleep. He hopped out of his bedroll and hastily changed. He sighed. He had spent all of yesterday training, and Jiraiya had carried him back to camp. He ran his hands through his long raven locks. In the 3 months since Naruto's capture, he hadn't cut it. He had vowed to himself not to cut it again until his brother lay dead at his feet. He tossed on his blue high-collar shirt and black sandals, tying his headband around his forehead in a way that kept his bangs out of his face. He stretched, cracking his back. Jiraiya. The old man yawned wearily, walking out of his tent in nothing but his boxers. What, kid? I was trying to sleep. I had a long night. Sasuke scoffed. A long night, drinking maybe. Jiraiya pouted. Just like Naruto, no respect. No wonder they were rivals. Sasuke glared at the man. Are you going to train me, or am I going to have to tell the bars nearby you've been shorting the money? Jiraiya turned and grabbed his pants and began to get dressed. Whatever, Gaki, go grab some breakfast, I'll train you. Just don't give me that look. Jiraiya shivered internally. It reminds me of Orochimaru. HN. Sasuke nodded and left to leave. A minute later, Kakashi awoke to Anko arms wrapped around his neck, wearing nothing but a blanket. Morning, Kashikoin. She kissed him on his neck, and he shivered. I have to go make sure Sasuke doesn't give Jiraiya an aneurysm. Anko pouted. Are you sure? I figure we could have a little fun. He shook his head. Sorry, Anko-heim, I have to go. She nodded, but stood up, dropping the blanket and revealing her voluptuous body. She made sure to take a moment to pick up her clothes, bending over to reveal her goods. Fine, go. I'll have fun by myself. Kakashi cried internally, damn you, but turned to leave. Sasuke arrived at a cafe on the outskirts of Tanzakagai and entered, ringing a bell for service. Welcome, what can I get you today? Sasuke ordered a glass of green tea and some onigiri. He sat down and waited for his mentors to arrive. 5 minutes later, Akatsuki HQ. Kurasu finished his lunch and followed Itachi outside. He saw the valley where a stream stretched as far as the eye could see above the cliffs. On either side of them were forests. Follow me, Otudo. Kurasu nodded and followed the man east down the stream. After about 15 minutes of walking, they arrived at a cliff face atop, which lay a grassy hill dotted with trees. Itachi vanished, reappearing on top of the small cliff, and Kurasu climbed up after him. Aniki, you need to teach me how to do that. Itachi chuckled. In due time, Kurasu. He looked around before spotting what he was looking for. Come on. Itachi began to walk up the hill, and Kurasu followed closely behind. They arrived at the crest of the hill, and Kurasu saw what Itachi had seen previously. A red-haired man sat on a giant stone writing on a scroll. Itachi Aniki, who is that? Itachi put a hand on his shoulder, reassuring him. That's Sasori, an associate of mine. He's going to help you with your chakra control. Kurasu nodded. Ah, okay. Kurasu walked up to the man and bowed. Greetings, Sasori-san. Sasori's eyebrow raised slightly. So you learned some manners. Kurasu looked at him confused. What? Sasori smirked. Nothing. Pleasure to meet you, Kurasu. Sasori bowed slightly before returning to his writing. Itachi walked up, and they nodded in acknowledgement at each other. Where's Deidara? Sasori sighed in annoyance. The idiot went to buy some more explosive clay. He went overboard on our last mission and ran out. Itachi sighed. Typical of him. Kurasu, take a seat over there and continue practicing the leaf exercise. Stick with your 33 leaf limit. Once you can hold them for 30 minutes straight, we can begin the next step. Kurasu nodded and left to grab some leaves. Sasori's interest was piqued. 33, aren't you overdoing it? When I was his age, I only did 13. Itachi nodded. He has large chakra reserves, so he needs to have a higher level of control for jutsu to work properly. Sasori nodded, speaking more quietly, so the boy couldn't hear them. He was an Uzumaki, wasn't he? That makes sense. Itachi looked at the scroll. What are you working on? Sasori smirked. The newest pieces in my collection. He channeled chakra into the scroll, and 2 human puppets popped out, one with a black ponytail and 6 arms. The other a pair of conjoined twins with long blue hair. Itachi tried to hide his disgust, and regretted asking immediately. Weren't those Orochimaru's guards? Sasori nodded. Yes, I figured two birds. One stone, I get powerful new puppets and get to stick it to that snake bastard at the same time. Sasori sighed. Although I was a little disappointed that I couldn't transfer their curse mark power. Once they died, it left their bodies, typical of the snake, always one step ahead. Itachi nodded, trying to sound interested. Yes, well, that's a shame. Sasori recalled the puppets sticking the scroll into his pocket. Kurasu returned and sat down. Sticking a leaf on his forehead, he began placing others on his arms, neck, and shoulders. He closed his eyes and began expelling chakra. Eventually, he fell into a state of deep meditation and focused on his chakra. Itachi pulled out a silver stopwatch and began the time for 30 minutes. Now we wait. 10 minutes later, Tanzakagai, Sasuke and company finished their lunch and began to head for a nearby plain where they were training. Kakashi reached for his favorite orange book only to realize Anko had pickpocketed it off of him. Damn that woman. He sighed and focused on the area around them. Jiraiya-sama, now that we've had Sasuke relearn the basics of chakra nature and chakra form, maybe we should teach him some new jutsu. Jiraiya nodded as he responded, that was the plan. I have a slew of fire jutsu, and I'm sure you have more lightning jutsu. Hopefully before the 3 years are up, we can awaken his third affinity. Kakashi nodded. I'm planning on having him sign my dog contract. Jiraiya nodded. Yeah, that's probably for the best. I don't think he'd mesh well with my toads, and I'd hate for Gamabunta to crush him out of annoyance. Kakashi chuckled at the thought. That would be a lot of paperwork with Tsunade. Sasuke ignored the conversation behind him, instead thinking about today's regiment. He stretched his shoulder blades. His muscles had doubled in size, and he had grown about 1.5 inches from non-stop rigorous training that guy, and Lee would wince at. Morning, noon, and night it's all he did, only stopping to eat, sleep, or use the restroom. Sasuke created a set of 3 shadow clones. The first thing he had done was request the jutsu to expedite his training. Though he couldn't create the hordes of clones Naruto once could, a 3-time boost to his training was still a colossal advantage. He began warming up while Jiraiya and Kakashi discussed what to teach him today. He began sparring with his clones while being careful not to dispel them. He didn't have the reserves to summon them if he kept destroying them. After about 15 minutes of sparring with them, he dispelled one, letting the knowledge reach the other 2, and repeated this process. By doing this, both he and his clones would improve endlessly as he discovered holes in his style, improving them, thus creating new problems and fixing those. After he finished the 3rd clone off and soaked in the information, Kakashi called him over. Sasuke, I'm going to let you sign my dog summoning contract. I just need you to promise me that you'll use them wisely and not endanger them more than is necessary. Sasuke nodded. Of course, sensei. Kakashi's eye widened. That was one of 2 times Sasuke had ever called him that, the other being after he'd learned the Chidori. Kakashi laid out the scroll and showed Sasuke what to do. Sasuke bit his thumb, signing his name in his own blood before placing his bloody handprint above it. Now to summon them, you make the tiger, hare, and ram's seal, then bite your finger, drawing some blood, and slam your hand on the ground. Kakashi demonstrated summoning a small yellow dog with shifty eyes. The secret to summoning them properly is to imagine them in another space and pull them out with your chakra. It's the same principle as pulling a kunai from a scroll. Kakashi looked at him. Oh, and you'll have your own chosen partners, so there's no telling what their personalities will be like. Sasuke nodded and followed his example, summoning a medium-sized gray Australian shepherd dog with a high-swept mohawk and a green bandana around its neck. A small brown foxhound dog with a faux hawk, yellow bandana around its neck, and Yakuza shades. And a mean-looking, abnormally large black Boceran dog with a military-style flat mohawk, a scar over its right eye, and a red bandana around its neck. So you're Sasuke, how nice to meet ya. The name's Kachi. The gray dog offered him a paw, and Sasuke shook it. The dog pointed at the brown foxhound, who nodded coolly. That's Katsu, he talks too much. He pointed at the black Boceran. And that's Kazan, he never talks. Sasuke bowed. Greetings, Kachi. I look forward to working with you. The dog nodded. Yeah, just make sure to give us some treats every now and then. Sasuke nodded. Peace. The dog gave him a salute before vanishing. Kakashi chuckled. An interesting group, to say the least. Sasuke nodded in agreement. Back at the hill, 2 minutes later, Kurasu was snapped out of his trance by the sound of the stopwatch beeping. He opened his eyes, dropping the leaves to the ground. Itachi clapped. Well done, Kurasu. Now we can begin the next step, tree climbing. Kurasu's sweat dropped. Tree climbing. Itachi nodded. Without the use of your hands. Kurasu looked at him confused. Aniki, have you lost your grapes? That's impossible. Itachi looked at him, shrugging before thoughtlessly walking up a tree and sitting on the branch. Nothing's impossible, Kurasu. There are only things that are known and things yet to be accomplished. Kurasu's eyes widened. Whoa, that's crazy. All right, I'll try. What do I do? Sasori chimed in, polishing a jagged blade. Expel chakra from the soles of your feet. Too little, you'll fall off. Too much, and you'll fly off. You need to find the delicate balance between. Itachi nodded in agreement. What he said, get a running start and try to climb the tree. Kurasu nodded and ran at the tree, expelling chakra. He made it all the way up on his first try and sat down next to Itachi. First try, Kurasu, well done. He shrugged. It just felt familiar, like I've done it 1,000,000 times. Itachi smirked. That's because you have Naruto, though I am impressed you adapted to the change in your chakra so quickly. Itachi hopped up. Well then, on to phase 3, follow me. Kurasu hopped down from the branch and followed Itachi back to the stream. Iwagakure, same time. Tayuya finished packing her few belongings and headed for the village gates. She wasn't afraid of Yoroi in the least, and the longer she stayed in one place, the more chance of her getting outed there was. She signed all the appropriate paperwork, handing the guards her fake ID and passport before walking out of the village. Where should I go? She ignored the nagging part of her brain that told her to return to Kusa, head to the base, and free Naruto. I can't. He's probably dead. Besides, I can't take on Orochimaru myself. I couldn't even face Kabuto. She nodded. Yeah, that's stupid. But part of her wasn't sure. She had grown attached to the young blonde. There was something about him that attracted her to him. Ugh, what should I do? She groaned out while walking. Later that day, Sasuke lay exhausted on the ground. He had been training with Kage Bunshin all day, and his chakra reserves were drained. He let out a groan of exhaustion. Kakashi walked over, scooping him up into his arms. Thank you, Kakashi. Kakashi nodded, eyes smiling. What are senseis for? Sasuke passed out in Kakashi's arms, a mix of chakra exhaustion and regular exhaustion overtaking him. Jiraiya had left hours earlier to head to town for a drink. When they arrived at the campsite, Kakashi put Sasuke in his tent before checking if Anko was there. Nothing. She must have left to grab some dango. She had an addiction to the treat. He decided to head to town and meet up with her and grab something to eat. He arrived at the dango shop just in time to see her figure slip through the door. He crept through the door and snuck behind her, placing a kiss on her neck. She blushed bright red. For a woman who wore a fishnet shirt and shorts 24/7, she was surprisingly bashful in public. Kashikan, not here, not in front of all these people. He smirked, lightly nibbling on her ear. He whispered, Then give me my book. She pouted, but handed him the orange book. In the blink of an eye, it vanished into his kunai pouch. Now let's eat. She smirked. Fine, but you're paying. Back at the Akatsuki hideout, as the sun began to set, Kurasu finally managed to walk on water for the 15-minute period. Itachi hopped down and motioned for him to follow him back to the base. Kurasu waved at the red-haired man, who grabbed his bag and prepared to leave. Goodbye, Sasori-san. I hope to see you again. The man was surprised at what the kid said. Why night gaki? He vanished amid a swirl of sand. Kurasu followed Itachi back to the HQ and called it a night. Good night, Aniki. Itachi smiled. You did good today, Kurasu. I'm proud of you. The blond boy blushed with pride, rolling over to sleep. Itachi pulled the book out. Sitting on an alcove, he began to read when the candle flickered slightly and a figure appeared before him. Report. Itachi nodded. He was able to master the 3 basic chakra exercises today. Madara nodded. Well done, Itachi. Keep up the good work, and I'll let the boy continue to breathe. Itachi nodded. Goodbye, Madara. The man's red eye glinted, and he vanished amid a swirl of chakra. Itachi awoke early. He started on his morning routine. He would first change clothing, wash his face, then head outside to meditate. Meditation was a habit he would never stop. Ever since he'd gone rogue, it had helped keep him sane. After that, he would start making breakfast for himself and narrate, Kurasu, who would always wake to the smell of food. Good morning, Aniki, mumbled out Kurasu, wiping his eyes, having barely woken up. He quickly sat down on the table when Itachi set the breakfast down. Good morning, Otudo, said Itachi. Today we're going to be stepping up your training. So far all we've worked on were the basics. Now we're going to start developing your taijutsu, ninjutsu, and of course my favorite, jinjutsu. Kurasu's eyes widened. Finally, I've been doing the same boring chakra control exercises for so long. Itachi smirked, about to tease Kurasu like always. Well, if you didn't have such bad chakra control, we could have started earlier. With the exercises I put you through, you are now at least Shunin level with chakra control, if not better. Kurasu's mouth widened into a smile. He loved being praised by his surrogate elder brother, Itachi. He wouldn't fail him. If he wanted to protect Itachi, he needed to get stronger. He wouldn't be able to forgive himself if something happened to his elder brother. Ibarakure no Sato. Tayuya was bored out of her mind. Her life has always been boring, but when a blondie decided to make his way into hers, life didn't seem so dull. She had acted like she hated the guy, but she actually liked him. This realization pushed her decision to take a chance. She turned towards Kusa and began to trek towards the base where he was being held. Hang on, Naruto, you're stubborn and a fighter. I know you're alive. I can feel I'll be there soon. She tossed her flask on her hip and bag over her shoulder. Gripping a kunai in her hand, she dashed in the direction of Kusa. Akatsuki base. After they were done with breakfast, Kurasu and Itachi headed out to the hill where they had trained yesterday. All right, Aniki, teach me cool jutsu. Kurasu's eyes lit up, and he hopped up and down in excitement. Itachi raised a finger sternly. Before that, you have one more thing to learn, a final chakra control skill that is vitally useful. Kurasu looked at him curious. What? The ability to move objects with chakra strings. Kurasu turned to see Saori trudging up the hill, obviously freshly awake, as he wiped the sleep from his eyes. Sasori-san. Kurasu ran over, giving the man a hug, and he blushed, pushing the kid off of him. Please don't touch me. Thank you. Kurasu nodded bashfully. Saw the... Sasori pulled a kunai from his pocket and motioned the boy to watch him. He tossed it into the air and began channeling chakra from his fingertips. The next second, the kunai was suspended in the air by thin blue chakra strings. Kurasu's eyes widened. Whoa, that's awesome. Sasori nodded. It's essential for a puppet master, but it's a useful skill for any shinobi. With it, you can change the trajectory of a weapon mid-flight, or catch an opponent off guard, anything you put your mind to. Kurasu nodded. What do I do? Itachi walked over, sitting under a tree, and watched them. Looks like Sasori's got this. Itachi pulled out a thermos and began drinking some leftover tea from that morning. Sasori had Naruto sit while he pulled out a small wooden marionette. I'm going to teach you the way I was taught. It's different from the way regular shinobi learn, but a superior method devised by the puppet corp. He showed him the difference by first using typical chakra strings to manipulate the marionette. It began to move, though slightly shakily. Now with my puppet strings. Sasori shot a thinner, more precise set of strings with a faint tinge of green, and the marionette began to move much faster and without any resistance. Kurasu was impressed. What changed? Sasori smirked. A slight tinge of wind chakra was added to my strings. Kurasu nodded. But what if I don't have a wind affinity? Sasori shook his head, smirking. Don't worry. With enough work, you can acquire an affinity to any element, just like Sharingan no Kakashi and a number of other talented individuals. Kurasu sighed in relief. Itachi chimed in. That reminds me, we need to test your affinities. Itachi pulled out a tiny square of paper. What's that? Itachi smiled. Chakra paper, when you channel chakra into it, it reads your elemental affinity. Here, channel chakra into. Kurasu obliged and channeled his chakra into it. It was split in two, one side crumbling, the other becoming wet. So your main affinity is wind. Your secondary affinity is lightning, with a third slight affinity for water. Itachi smirked. To be expected, Naruto, you got your father's affinities with your mother's powerful water affinity coming in third. Sasori's eyes widened slightly. Wow, to have three affinities when first tested, that's nearly unheard of. Kurasu smiled brightly. Yes, I knew I was awesome. Sasori nodded. You're certainly something Uzumaki. He cleared his throat. Anyway, I'm glad you have a wind affinity that will make this much easier. He pulled out a slab of sandstone. In Suna, the majority of shinobi have wind as their main affinity, so we are experts at training it. He pointed to the stone, smirking. You need to cut this stone in half using only your wind chakra. Kurasu paled. That sounds challenging. Sasori nodded. It took me 2 months. It takes most people 6. Itachi put a reassuring hand on Kurasu's shoulder. Kurasu, I have a jutsu to teach you to speed up your training. I think you'll have an affinity for it. Kurasu jumped at the prospect. You're telling me I can get stronger faster? Sign me the hell up. Itachi nodded and showed him the seal. This is the Shadow Clone Jutsu. It takes a large amount of chakra, so try not to overdo it. Kurasu smirked and made the sign, channeling a large stream of chakra, summoning 50 clones, and earning a shocked stare from the 2 shinobi. Sasori looked at him in awe. To think a child so young could create 50 shadow clones with ease. Itachi, on the other hand, was surprised he could still summon that many after the extraction. His Uzumaki heritage really gave him a lot. With the Kyuubi, he could summon thousands, but if he keeps up his training by the time he's an adult, he may be able to do that with his own chakra. Itachi turned to the army of clones. Now have all of your clones train with you. When you dispel them, the knowledge they acquire will return to you, as well as the others, but don't dispel them all at once, or it will fry your brain. Kurasu nodded, gulping. Aniki. The clones all grabbed rocks and leaves from the trees and shore and began trying to split them while the real Kurasu worked on the sandstone Sasori had given him. After about 5 minutes, one of the clones made the tiniest nick in a rock. Kurasu dispelled it, passing the knowledge to the other clones and himself. 10 minutes later, another clone managed to split a quarter of a leaf. Kurasu dispelled that 1 in 15 minutes after 2 clones successfully split a rock and leaf at the same time. He dispelled them both, and all the other clones succeeded soon after. He dispelled them all one by one, then began to use the knowledge he acquired to split the sandstone, though it was harder than the other 2 combined. Itachi and Sasori were impressed. He had succeeded so fast, though, he began to struggle on the sandstone. Finally, after another 30 minutes, he managed to split it in half and raised it above his head in victory. Yes, Kurasu, king of the pirates, wins again. He jumped, pumping his fist in the air. Itachi nodded in pride. 1 hour, Kurasu? Well done, well, Sasori. Sasori smirked. This Gaki is something else. Sasori yawned. Well, I suppose we should begin the next step. He took Kurasu's hands and channeled chakra into them, giving him a feel for the flow. That's what regular chakra strings feel like. Go ahead and move the marionette. Kurasu nodded and did as he said, moving it with some shakiness. Well done for a first try. He cleared his throat. Now try to make them thinner and put a tinge of wind into them. Kurasu obliged and created thin green strings moving the puppet. It moved much faster and smoother than before, though still not on par with Sasori's. Good now. Keep practicing this on your own time. It will be useful one day. Sasori stood up. Well, Itachi, he has chakra nature down. Shall we begin showing him manipulation of chakra form? Itachi nodded. Kurasu, let's begin. Kusa later that day. Tayuya arrived at the outskirts of the forest, except there was no forest, only wreckage as far as the eye could see. She ran to the area where the base should be and summoned her Oni with her flute, having them toss the rubble aside to reveal the hideout entrance. She ran inside and cast a fire jutsu, lighting the torches which had gone out. The first thing she noticed was the smell of mustiness from 3 months of vacancy combined with the stench of death. She grabbed a torch and began navigating the hallways. Arriving at the main prison block, she saw the long decayed corpses of the dead Odo ninja. At this point, she panicked. Please don't let Naruto be here. She ran to the end of the hall where Naruto's lone cell was and shined her torch inside. To her relief, it was empty, although now she didn't know where he was. She was preparing to leave when something caught her eye. She looked back into the cell, and carved into the wall with crude claw-like marks was a message. Tayuya, if you're reading this, I am alive. Please, find me, Dickliscoin. Below the message was a little chibi of Naruto with fox ears and a smile. She smiled melancholically, wiping a tear of relief from her eye. She saw a blue Konoha headband on the ground and picked it up, pocketing it. I will, I promise. She turned around and left for the exit. Tanzakagai. Sasuke hadn't slept well the night prior. Kakashi and Anko had been going at it like rabbits, and Jiraiya had been hastily scribbling notes for his next book, Aika, Kakumiai, Revolution. After a groggy breakfast and an awkward apology, Sasuke and Kakashi had left for the field where they would train. Sasuke tried to summon his usual 3 clones, although he felt stronger and 6 ended up appearing. Kakashi smirked. Looks like all the training has stretched your chakra coils. Sasuke smiled, darkly picking up a rock as his Manjikyu Sharingan flared to life. Good more chakra to kill my brother. As he said that, his hand flashed with lightning as he closed his fist, crushing the rock into dust. Kakashi's eye widened in shock. Sasuke, you've awakened your Manjikyu how when? Sasuke nodded. When Naruto died. Kakashi looked somber. I'm sorry, I know what it feels like, that pain. He pulled up his headband, showing Sasuke his Sharingan for a split second, and it turned into a windmill pattern before returning. Sasuke nodded. I see. I am Sore, Sensei. Grassy Hill. Back at the hill, Kurasu had been training to change the shape of his chakra for hours. He growled in frustration. In the 3+ hours he had been training, he had only made the tiniest of steps. Itachi looked at him for a second before recalling their encounter in Tanzakagai. Naruto had tried to use a Rinnegan, but Kisame had blocked it with his blade. Itachi vaguely recalled how Naruto had needed a clone to spin the chakra while he shaped it. Kurasu, come here, I'll teach you a jutsu that will help you learn chakra form. Itachi had always been a prodigy. He had seen Minato use it on multiple occasions with his Sharingan active, and had managed to copy Kakashi's Raikiri with his Sharingan, which was based on it, so he was confident he could learn it. Itachi, piecing together what he had seen and heard, formed an orb of chakra in his hand and began spinning it. Kurasu's eyes widened as he saw the blue orb of violently rotating chakra. This is the Rinnegan, an A-rank jutsu created by the Yondaime Hokage. It utilizes change in chakra form. If you can master it, I'm certain you'll be able to learn advanced chakra form from there. Itachi turned to Sasori. Sasori-san, I need you to go to town and grab some supplies. He walked over and whispered into his ear. Sasori nodded and left. A few minutes later, he returned with a cloth bag full of balloons and rubber balls. Sasori went to go fill some of the balloons with water, filling some others up with wind jutsu. Itachi turned to Kurasu. First, you need to pop a water balloon using only your chakra by spinning it to fill the balloon with a chakra orb. He tossed Kurasu a water balloon and motioned his clones to go grab some more before sitting under a tree and watching. After about 15 minutes, Kurasu ran over proudly, displaying his work. Done. Itachi nodded. Good. Now I need to pop a balloon without water. He waved the boy off, who pouted before running to grab some more balloons. Kurasu dispelled a clone, letting the rest soak up his knowledge, then began to work on the balloon. He struggled, managing to make it warp after about 15 minutes. Finally, after another 30 minutes, he managed to burst a hole in the balloon. Itachi smiled. Well done, Kurasu. Now you need to pop a rubber ball. Come here first. I have something that should help you. Kurasu ran over and Itachi pulled a marker from his pouch, drawing a leaf symbol on his hand. Focus on the center. It spirals outward from the right. This is because you have a right rotation. Kurasu took a second to stare at his hand before his eyes flashed with understanding and ran off to pop the ball. To Itachi and Sasori's utter shock, he managed to pop the ball on his first attempt, continuing to hold the orb of chakra in hand. He dispelled all his clones and smirked. I think I got it. Itachi nodded and stood up. Kurasu released the Rinnegan and walked over to him. Now, what Itachi and Iki? Itachi waved Sasori over, and Sasori showed him some hand signs. Now that you know a spherical chakra form, I have a jutsu you can use. Sasori channeled wind chakra and pushed his palm forward, a spiral of wind shooting out and slamming into a set of trees, knocking them back. Wind style, gale palm. Now you try. Kurasu made the hand signs and channeled wind chakra, following his example. He pushed his palm forward at a boulder, and a spiral of wind shot out, smashing the boulder pieces. Whoa, that's so fucking cool. He jumped in excitement. Show me more. Sasori shook his head. You need a rest. Your chakra has been depleted too much today, and you haven't noticed due to the adrenaline. Kurasu tried to protest, but Sasori counted down from 3 with his hands, and Kurasu fell forward unconscious. Sasori caught him, handing him off to Itachi. This Gaki's got potential, take care of him. Itachi nodded, smirking. Are you smiling, Sasori-san? Sasori turned away from the man. Ridiculous. See you tomorrow, Itachi. He vanished amid a swirl of sand. 3 weeks later, Kurasu had learned 2 more wind jutsu from Sasori. Wind style, wind whip, and wind style, wind blade. And 3 jutsu from Itachi. He had managed to awaken his water affinity, though it was weak, but he couldn't quite use lightning yet. The only water jutsu Itachi had managed to teach him was the water dragon jutsu, though he also taught him the shuriken shadow clone jutsu and the shunshin jutsu. Along with that, he had practiced his change in chakra form, chakra strings, and Rinnegan. In between these, Itachi taught him taijutsu and the fundamentals of jinjutsu, mainly escaping from it. Itachi decided he was ready to go on a mission. Kurasu hadn't cut his hair since he had woken up from the coma, and Itachi said it looked better long, so he kept growing it. He looked just like Minato. Itachi had long since burnt the Kill Me orange jumpsuit while Kurasu was in a coma. Instead, he now wore black ANBU-style pants, long blue sandals, blue and orange wristbands, an ash-colored tank top, and a white hoodie with a yellow Akatsuki clan symbol on the back, and blue chevron pattern collar, sleeves, a zipper over it. Around his neck, he wore an orange Konoha hideout with a slash through the middle. Itachi had explained to him that he was a rogue chunin from Konoha who had defected after he was falsely accused of killing a council member. They had a kill-on-sight policy, so it was vital that he didn't let any Konoha shinobi see his face. With that in mind, he handed Kurasu an ANBU-style white chrome mask with a yellow transparent crescent moon on the forehead, and blue transparent stripes under the eye holes and around the beak. Kurasu nodded and took the mask. Itachi and Iki, you were from Konoha too, right? He nodded. Is that why you took me in? Itachi shook his head. Then why? Itachi looked somberly. You remind me of my brother. Kurasu smiled sadly. Kusabase, 3 months earlier. Tayuya left the ruin just as a massive shockwave struck it, collapsing the entrance. Yoroi, huh? Too pussy to fight me alone. Yoroi smirked. With him were 20 or so Odo ninja with sound weapons on their arms. Yoroi twirled a kunai. Sorry, Tayuya-chan, only a fool fights fair. He pointed the kunai at her, the men readying their gauntlets. Either come with us, or we'll kill you where you stand. Tayuya smirked, and her curse mark flared up. You think you weak bastards can kill me? She put her hand behind her back, subtly grabbing her flute, and made a single hand seal. Channeling wind chakra into it, she began making notes with her hand, the wind playing the flute for her. The men all froze in place as the haunting melody began to play. Her hair began to grow, turning pink with white flower-like horns as her skin turned a muddy brown, her eyes turning a sick wine color. She spoke, her voice dripping with murderous intent as she pulled her flute up to her lips. Daiuscum slowly and in pain. Three white, ghost-like creatures with white razor-sharp fawn-lined maws shot out of her flute. They flew into the men and began to eat through their chests, entering their bodies and tearing them apart from the inside. As they screamed in agony, they made a cacophonous noise, less like a human, more like a dying animal echoing through the forest. Akatsuki base. Kurasu fixed his mask to his face, grabbing his pouches and a small tanto which he strapped to his back. He wasn't formally trained in kenjutsu, yet, as Kisame was on a mission, but Itachi said it would come in handy. Itachi and Iki, when do I get a badass cloak? Itachi chuckled. You don't. You're not a member, only an accomplice. Kurasu pouted. Fine. Itachi tossed his cloak on and motioned Kurasu to follow him. Kurasu gripped his tanto handle nervously, making sure it was on properly, before following Itachi out. Tanzakagai. Jiraiya sat at a picnic table, writing in a scroll. Today was the last day they'd spend in Tanzakagai. They were traveling to the land of water to meet an old friend of Jiraiya's who agreed to train Sasuke in kenjutsu as long as he proved talented. Sasuke was in the field testing his Amaterasu on Kakashi's shadow clones. Though they were very careful not to overuse it lest Sasuke go blind. Sasuke breathed heavily, his chakra exhausted and his eye burning. Kakashi put a hand on his shoulder. Let's call a day. Sasuke nodded with a HNN, leaving for the nearby bathhouse. Kurasu and Itachi walked through the forest bordering the HQ when they ran into a familiar red-haired figure. Sasori-san. He nodded. Karasu-kun. Sasori turned to Itachi. What's the mission? Itachi checked a scroll. We have to assassinate a water counselor. Sasori smirked. That's all. I expected a challenge. Itachi gave him a stern sigh. Careful, Sasori, you get cocky, and Deidara won't let you live it down. Sasori paled at the thought of his blonde partner having something to hold over him. Why, yeah, you're right, my bad. Itachi nodded. Let's get going. Tanzakagai. Sasuke followed the older men down the dirt road, leading toward the land of water. Anko let out a bored sigh as she tugged at Kakashi's shirt sleeve like a little kid. Kashiko, I'm bored. When will we get to blow shit up? He chuckled. I'm not sure, Anko-chan, someone will be dumb enough to mess with us. It's just a matter of time. She yawned. I wish I could sleep while walking. You really wore me out. He blushed under his mask, coughing and adjusting his shirt collar. Yes, well, I mean. She laughed. I'm just messing with you. Kakashi cleared his throat and pulled out his favorite orange book, reading it as they walked silently. After a couple hours of walking, they arrived at a way station. The old man walked out and smiled genially. Well, hello there, could I interest you in some food or drink? Jiraiya shrugged. When life gives you lemons. He followed the old man into the tiny diner and ordered a tea. The rest of the crew sat around him and ordered some food and drinks. Sasuke let out a groan of pain, grabbing his shoulder and arm. Kakashi looked at him worriedly. You've been overdoing it with your training, Sasuke. You'll wreck your body if you don't dial it back. Sasuke shook his head. I'm fine. Kurasu followed Itachi and Sasori through the forest. The warped trees bent around them as they walked the thick mist and faint light, giving it an otherworldly appearance. They passed under a tunnel of wood and leaves exiting to a cliffside overlooking an even larger forest. Kurasu's eyes widened in amazement. That's a big fucking forest. Itachi nodded. The Sea of Leaves, the bridge between Hai no Kuni and Mizu no Kuni. Sasori smirked.